Well, hey everybody, and welcome back, or welcome to the channel. Not a lot going on lately, on the channel at least, mainly because I've got so much going on outside of doing this. I've been super busy at work, traveling, just other projects that took precedence, but appreciate you guys, all of you that checked out some of the videos and are following along. I know there's a handful of you that are trying to at least follow along with some of the projects, but far and away the most popular video was about this guy, my little Continental Teledyne 4AO 32 cubic inch flat 4-cylinder military motor. And had somebody this week, a couple of days ago, ask if I would do an update about this motor, and it reminded me, because I kind of took the stand. I've messed with it a couple of times, just not doing much at all, but it's just been kind of sitting over out of the way because I haven't had time to really get on it and start working on my mini sandrail project that this is going to end up going on. I think we'll see. But they specifically asked about the quad carb setup and the fuel system and all this magic I got going on up here. So I'll get into that in a minute. The other thing it reminded me of is when I first got this, it was in a crate and it was full of pickling oil. Shelf stable, put it in your motor when you're going to store it for a while, and it had the same oil in it since the 90s when it was made. And when I got it, I didn't have an extra filter. Oil filter's right here. So I just drained what was in it out and then filled it back up with some heavy-duty diesel oil. But I kind of messed up because it's not, if you get the T4, it's got a lot of zinc in it, so that would have been better. But I kind of used what I had on hand. I didn't want to put just regular gas engine oil in it because all I've got is Mobil 1. It's super thin, great for newer motors, but not so much for an older motor or an older design. Like, I couldn't tell you for sure, couldn't tell you for sure, but I would bet dollars to pesos that this motor does not have a roller cam in it or hydraulic lifters. It's almost certainly a flat tappet cam, so you want a oil that runs a lot of zinc. So I got some of that. I'll show you that in a minute. It's actually a new oil I've never seen before. Kind of excited, and we're going to find out if the filter I got is going to work, because before they put this thing in the crate, some Army private, I'm assuming, took a can of green olive drab rattle can spray paint and just went over the whole thing, including the oil filter, and including the part of the oil filter that has the part number on it. So I have no idea, and the internet threw some suggestions at me, not at me, but they're out there, on what filter to run on this. We'll find out, we'll see. But right now, the plan is I put a little bit of seafoam in here in the crankcase. We'll fire it up, let it run for a little bit, get the oil nice and warm where it's going to drain completely, and hopefully that seafoam will go in and really clean out the rest of that pickling oil. We'll get all that out of here, which is going to be interesting because the drain is right here. Actually, I think it's got a drain plug on both sides, but I don't remember. No, I guess it's just on one side. But I didn't really design my engine stand for an oil change scenario, so I'm going to figure out some way to get it out here. It shouldn't be too hard. But we'll drop the oil, change filter, and then fire it back up, and I'll get in somewhere in there, talk about all this up here. So just hang out with me, bear with me a little bit. But before I do that, I want to show you all this that I forgot to talk about on the other video I did about this motor. Check this out. And this is a little super geeky. Some of you will really like it. So this came with the motor in the crate, which the crate is actually right there. I can't throw away a good box. So I took the crate, flipped it over, put casters on it, ran some scrap pieces of wood across there, and now it's my spare scrap metal storage. Yeah, works good. But so this is the maintenance manual for this motor, published by the Army, Department of the Army Technical Manual, Department of the Air Force Technical Order. And I geek out on this because I was in the Air Force for 23 years. I flew C-130 gunships, been around aircraft my whole life, military aircraft specifically. And this is basically the same format, same everything that you would get on a military jet. And it's really cool. And if you look, so where does it have to change? Yeah, so this copy is a reprint, includes current pages from changes 1 through 7, okay? This was also in there, which is all the changes to update this manual to change 8. And they were never even posted. They were just thrown in, and there it is. And here's the preservation checklist. So if you look, November 9th of 1991 is when this motor was pickled and put away until I bought it. And it just goes through all the checklist items to, prepare the motor for storage. And I just thought that was really cool. And then the last thing, where is it? I know it's back here. It's kind of funny. Oh, here we go. Yeah, so if you want to recommend changes to the publication, you fill this out. And actually the instructions are this little hottie right here. I mean, daggone. Give her a low-cut sweater and she's got some junk going on up there. So what you do is apparently you jot down the dope about it on this form and then carefully tear it out, fold it, and just drop it in the mail. That's hilarious, honestly. But it comes pre-filled out with publication number, the publication date, so 1977, and then what it is, so the 6-horse gasoline engine, which I've talked about that before, about it being a 6-horse motor. And I actually saw something on that. I wonder if I could find it real quick. I'm not going to waste too much time, but I saw it this morning where it talks about the horsepower rating. And I bet you oh, so here's some tab data. So dimensions, weight, engine, nut and bolt torques, all the fuel filter, governor assembly, where was it? Let's see. Oh, here it is. So it talks about the engine horsepower. It's 6 continuous at 3,600 RPM. Now, that's a pretty low RPM, and also you're talking about a continuous load. And I think somewhere else in here it talks about, the horsepower rating where it's rated at 6 horsepower at this 3,600 RPM at a super high elevation, which really affects a carbureted motor, and a really, really high ambient temperature, which also affects the motor. So that 6 horsepower is super, super, super conservative. I would love to one day, when I'm done with this, figure out how to put it on some sort of a dyno and get an actual horsepower number on it. But that's for future reference. I guess I can go ahead before I fire this up, and as long as I'm toting the phone around and making everybody seasick, we'll talk about this a little more. So right here, this is where the governor used to be. So that 3,600 RPM, that's what choked it down and wouldn't let it speed up past that. Now, this is not gonna be a 8,000 RPM motor. Probably 4,500, 5,000 maybe. And I'm gonna figure out some sort of a tack to put on here. So I've got an idea. I know they've got like a universal tack that you can put sensors on a spinning shaft and it'll give you a good idea. But I got to figure out something because my right foot is going to be the only thing keeping the RPM where it needs to be. Now, there's a lot of people online that's, you know, oh, don't take the governor off. You're going to throw a rod through the crankcase. I don't think that's really, you know, I think this thing will start, it'll float the lifters or float the valves, either one, long before it throws a connecting rod. And you know, if you manage to throw a rod through this thing, it's your own fault. But so a little more on the quad carb setup. I'm actually having some second thoughts about this. I think I could do a 2 carb, you know, one for this bank, one for this bank, and it would be a little easier to sync up. Or I may do 2 and do, oh, y'all are right in my teeth. Let me zoom you out a little bit. All right, and do 1 carb for the back cylinders, 1 for the front cylinders. That way, you know, if the fueling is off a little bit, I don't have one side of the motor driving the other side. I don't know, but this is really, well, to me, it's cool. And it's cool that it worked, but, and I'll leave it alone for now. No immediate plans, but all I did here was, and I've had people ask me, about the jetting on these and the size of them. These are literally the cheapest Amazon carburetors that you can get. They were 14 or 15 bucks a piece and came with the air filter assemblies and everything. And it's a motorcycle carb for like anything from a 70 cc to a 115, I think, or 125. So really any one you find for that size motor is going to be fine. It'll work. As far as the jetting, man, whatever it had in the box from China is the jet that I'm running. I don't really like messing with jets too much, and I'm in Florida. There's the water. I'm at sea level. Generally, out of the box carburetors are pretty much good to go at sea level. If you're up in the mountains or something, yeah, you probably want to get a jet kit and play with it to get the right fueling. But I really don't have. The juice wouldn't be worth the squeeze for me to waste the time changing jets in 4 different carburetors and then finding out, you know, oh, that's too rich, and then take it all apart and change them all over again to, you know, find out it's too lean. Anyway, so all I did here was, if you look in here close, this base plate, I mean, it's just a piece of 16th inch-ish plate steel, mild steel, that once I got the old carburetor and manifold and everything off, let's get in here. Yeah, there's some bolt points. So I bolted it down through here, and same thing over here into threaded holes that are already there just on top of this housing. And then in the back, I just bent the lip of this plate down, and there's 2, sorry, I'll try to get in here, but there's these 2 bolts for the flywheel housing, and I just marked it, drilled those spots out, and it bolted right up and works good. And then for these, and this is really stupid simple, but some more scrap metal bent out of 90 and drilled, bolted, and then I just took a I believe it's a 1-inch Christmas tree bit, graduated drill bit, marked and drilled the 2 holes for the air and fuel mix to pass through. Put a PVC coupler on this side, and I think this is some sort of adhesive. I forget what I used. Is this JB Weld? Anyway, put the coupler on there, put a 90, and then another short piece of PVC coming in here. Not a coupler, it's just a single little cut off piece of PVC. And then put another one coming out of the 90, and then use this rubber hose to connect it to, this is the original little intake manifold that was on here. And actually, it was a similar setup, because you had a 4-way manifold up here, and then you had a little section of rubber hose that connected this piece to the main manifold. So that's kind of where I got the idea for this. And then, you know, just drilled 2 more holes and zipped some bolts through here, and these are already threaded, so worked out good. And I just used the little plate, whatever it's called, spacer. Anyway, this little plastic piece comes with the carburetor, so I just use that as a template for everything. And these mounted up just fine. The only kind of issue I had was I couldn't, what I wanted to do was have them all facing the same direction, or same orientation, I guess, and have a row of filters going 1, 2, 3, 4. Well, I didn't have enough room, and I didn't want to bring this back and then back in. I wanted to keep it as short a run as I could. So I had to pick a side and rotate the carbs. And I could have done, you know, rotated both sides a little bit, but then I've got to figure out this on both sides. And I really didn't want to do that. So I did this side first, and then mocked this up, and the same thing. I just bent some metal, drilled it, did all the same things over here. And this mounting piece, the only difference is bent it into a 90 and then put it in the vise and put a twist on it. And I mean, they're not going anywhere. It ain't pretty, but it's solid. And then as far as, I actually messed up when I bought these carbs. I wasn't paying attention. I may have had a drink or 2 when I was on Amazon, but I wanted the carbs for more like a lawnmower that have the throttle down here, and then I could rig up linkage down here with push-pull rods. Well, ordered these, which are for a motorcycle, i.e. a twist throttle coming up from the handlebar. So the throttle cable comes out the top, and it's a slide. Instead of a butterfly, there's slides, which I don't really like. Another reason why I'm probably going to change this configuration at some point. But it is what it is for now, and it runs and it's fun to play with. So, oh, and then for the actual throttle actuation up here, what I did, I mean, same vein here, just bent some metal, bolted it together. When I'm done, like final configuration with this, I'll take the whole thing off, pull the bolts, and weld up, you know, some points where you know, it's just a little nicer, paint it, etc., etc. But by that point, I want to have all this olive drab paint stripped off of here. I want to polish these valve covers out. They're aluminum. They should polish out pretty good. But you know, that's way down the road. But I made this little rack, and I mean, you can look at it and see what it is. It's just scrap metal cut up in pieces, bolted together, and then took this 1/4 inch rod and these little holders, you know, measured it all up. And first thing, first draft of this, I had a flat piece of steel that just pulled, you know, rotated back and forth, and it wasn't linear. So when you actually moved these, you know, the farther it rotated, the more it moved compared to the rotation of the shaft. So I didn't like that. It didn't really give me the travel that I wanted and the kind of ability to, you know, fine tune the throttle a little bit. So I cut up these pieces of tubing and just tack welded them in here, and they're plenty solid. But as they rotate with the shaft, it's not just pulling the cable straight out, it's rolling it along the edge of this piece of tubing, which kind of slows it down a little bit and makes a little better radius. In theory, I guess. I don't know how much it's actually doing, but it works. Worked out fine. And then just took these little, I think these were washers, drilled a couple of holes in them to use for the returns, for the springs. Stuck these on here, tack welded them on, and threw some old throttle springs on here from, I don't even know that they're throttle springs, they're from Ace Hardware. But yeah, keeps tension on both, and it's got a snappy return, you know. And final thing, this up here is what I'll eventually use to, you know, attach a throttle pedal. These two cables will come together in some form or fashion and be clamped, and through some undetermined magic of levers and pulleys, these will get pulled down, which I'm gonna have to change this up too, because I mean, I can't even, those springs are super tight. Like, you can, there's just not much leverage, but it's kind of what I had to work with. I didn't want to get them too close together, but yeah. Keep in mind, this was all when I was making it. Honestly, was 50-50 whether I could get it to run it in this configuration or not. So it's not perfect, but if anybody's wondering, yes, it does work. It works really well. In fact, let's fire it up, get this oil warmed up so I can drop it, change it, and put in, let me show you over here. This is the oil I was talking about. Valvoline VR1 for racing and classic cars. Now racing, I don't really care much about that, but the classic car bit is important because if you see there, specially designed for push rod and flat tappet engines, and right here, 1.7% or 1.7 times more zinc. So this will be much better for what I'm sure is a flat tappet cam in this little motor versus the oil that's in it, that's mixed with pickling fluid and pickling oil and God knows what else is in there. So let me stick you up here and oh, I like my camera rig. Hey, yeah, my phone case has magnets in the back, so I just jank up some metal and y'all ride right there. All right. Last couple of times I did this, I just started it up in the garage and then stunk like exhaust fumes for the rest of the day. So I'm gonna move it out here in the driveway. And part of that is the fuel that I have in it is 93 octane marine gas, basically non-ethanol, because I rigged up this little lawnmower gas tank, and I keep just a little bit of fuel in it, just enough to fart around when I want to, but I don't want it to spoil on me because it does sit there for a while. And again, battery, relay, starter off of a 90s-ish model BMW 3 Series. Let me make sure. There we go. Let me get y'all zoomed in a little bit. All right. Yeah, all that stuff, electrical, gas tank. Got a little Elderbrock lift pump underneath the engine stand here. So I'll kick that on. Nothing charging the battery. One of the things I will do eventually is put a belt on here with an accessory drive with the alternator. Future stuff. All right, ignition's on, fuel pump's on. Let's see if she'll bark off for us. So, one of the downsides of this is I only have access to choke on 2 of the carburetors. The other 2 are blocked. So, let's try it again. Yep, here we go. Come on now. Hey, y'all keep an eye on this. I gotta run in the house and grab something I forgot to get. I'll be right back. Alright guys, I'm not going to make you sit here and watch this anymore. I'll bring you back in. I didn't realize this was already 30 minutes long. I'll get you back in here when I'm ready to drop the oil, and then we'll fire it back up after the oil change. Alright, I'll see you in a minute. I mean, is it a dumb idea if it works? I mean, it hasn't worked yet, but let's see. There we go. Get you back in here a little bit. All right, another good thing about this motor, it's It's American made. Everything, all you need is a socket set, wrench set, like a 7/16, 9/16, ½ inch, and you can disassemble this whole damn thing. All right, let's see if this works or if I'm gonna make a mess in the driveway. Drain plug is 7/16, by the way. All right. And because I'm smart, if it goes everywhere, I'm standing here with nothing to deal with it. Let's see if it's what it's gonna do here. Boom! Look at that. I mean, well, that's not awesome. That's getting most of it. That's fine. Let's see. Let's check the old magnet on there. Towel. That's fine. Yeah. All right, let's see. I'll get you in here. Focus. Not too bad, considering. I mean, I'm basically breaking in this motor. I just think it's kind of cool that an engine this size, this small, actually has a magnetic drain plug. I don't see that. Like, go change the oil in your lawnmower. See if it's got any kind of wear indication built in. Huh. And the crankcase only holds a little bit over 2 quarts, I believe. It's in the manual in there. I saw it this morning, but I don't remember. And then another ½ quart for this oil filter. And as long as I'm standing here talking and we're waiting on this to drain, let me show you. So this is the the oil filter that the internet said would work. And if you notice, one of these kids is not like the other. Now, I did take this OG filter off and took it with me to O'Reilly's. Same thread pattern, 3/4 by 16, and this gasket is the same size. And before I put this back on to run it up, I spun this one on. It'll work fine. And it's even this filter for a 500-ish cc engine is overkill. This is massive overkill. But keep in mind, it was designed to keep this filter on for a long time in field conditions with army dudes dumping cooking oil or whatever else the hell they had on hand down into the crankcase of this. So that life is over. Well, it never lived it. It was never in the field. But we're going to throw this on with some better oil and see how that goes. But I did see when I first pulled the plug there, some weird looking stuff coming out. And it's that pickling oil, and yeah, I'm glad to be getting all that out. So, all right, I'm gonna sit here and let this thing drip for a while and get as much of that out as possible. I may, no, I'm definitely gonna get the air compressor going and blow some air down into through the oil fill and see if I can't blow some of the stuff out of the bottom of that crankcase. And just, I want as much fresh, clean oil in this as I can get. So I'm really kind of worried at this point that I'm going to wipe out a cam lobe. But I'll see you in a minute. Old filter's off. Poured it out here in my fancy drain pan. And you can kind of see what I was talking about with some of the weirdness that's in there. Like right here. I don't know if it's from the pickling oil or if that motor's just breaking itself in, and I probably didn't have enough zinc in there. but we'll pretend like that didn't happen. Getting the new filter ready to go. And I know there's a debate about whether you put oil in the filter before you put it on or not. In this application, I definitely am, because I don't know how much oil pressure this thing runs, but I don't want it to sit here and starve. So yeah, if you look, there's a wide land here, and also a separate land up here. So this AC Delco filter is going to land on this inner ring, but it's set up so that if you get almost any kind of big filter like that on a 3/4 by 16 thread, it will work here. You know, this is a very, very intelligently designed motor. So let me go ahead and fill this up. And because this is a smaller, much smaller filter, it kind of throws my oil quantity off a bit. The manual here, capacities, so crankcase, you can see 1 5/8 quart. And then oil filter for that big boy was a 1/2 quart. That's not going to take a 1/2 quart on this guy. So I'm just going to fill it up and call that good with whatever it does take. And then for the 1 5/8, I don't do math in public, or can't. So I'm just going to dump 1 full quart, and then I actually use the milliliters on here. So there's 946 milliliters. 5/8 of 946 is 591 1/4. So I just kind of marked it right around 600. So after I dump a full quart into the crankcase, I'll bring the empty over here, pour this out into the empty until it reads that much, and then pour exactly that much into the crankcase, let it settle, and we'll see where we're at. Should be just right, unless I really screwed up the math, which is a very real possibility. So let me get y'all set up over here on this professional. I think this is what they use for like the superhero movies. iPhone and rolly chair from Harbor Freight. Oop, wrong way. Oop, too much. Stay with me. Okay, we'll just do it. All right. But just a little more thirsty. And if you're wondering why I went with AC Delco, I actually wanted a Wix and had one in my hand. I had both of them on the counter there at O'Reilly's, and the guy was looking at the specs, and he said, you know, that AC Delco actually is a better filter. It filters down to, I think he said 20 microns versus the Wix, which was, I think, 30 or 35 microns. Is 15 microns going to make a difference in this motor? No, but they were almost exactly the same price, so might as well, you know, get the better of the two, or the better rated anyway. And I'm sure I'll get smoked in the comments for saying that, but you know, whatever. All right, filter is on. Hand tight. Hand tight. If you put a filter wrench or a strap wrench or anything on an oil filter to put it on, you're screwing up. Don't do that. I actually had a Jiffy Lube years ago strip my friggin' oil filter threads off the bottom of my truck, which is what I deserve for getting my oil changed at Jiffy Lube anyway. But anyway, all right, let's get some dinosaur juice in this thing. And oh look, there's a hole right there, just perfect to drip oil on the battery. Cool. All right, 1 full quart, which I'm about to dump all down the heads. Ooh. Maybe not. Let me drink more of my beer so my hands stop shaking. Thirsty girl. Oh, man. Trying to be funny. I just spill everything. Okay. Now, get this one down to our 591 1/4 milliliters. I bring this over there, but I need to do it on the table. So, sorry. That's close enough for the girls I date. And I'd rather have a little too much than not enough. The valve train is pressure oiled. The rods are not. They are splash lubricated. So running these little motors low on oil can be rapidly bad. All right, let me clean up the little mess that I made. I mean, it doesn't hurt anything to splash a little oil around. Sometimes. All right, let's see where we're at. What do you think? Just right? High, low? What are you saying? Come on, math. I'd say it's right where it's supposed to be. And I just noticed, oh, there we go. There's the full. Let me try that again. It's only got markings on one side. It's kind of weird. Huh. You'd think I'd have noticed that before now. Pay that much attention. I mean, it don't get any better than that. Let's see if y'all can see this. Nope, not gonna focus. Anyway, the full mark is right here, and so is the oil line. Let's, well, whatever. Just trust me. It was awesome. Glad you could be here for it. All right. And we do filters on, drain plugs in and torqued, which means I've twisted it until my vision started to narrow a little bit and then called it good. Oil's in, caps on. Normally in my personal vehicle, if oil's out of the motor, the key is hidden somewhere. Wasn't really worried about it. This particular instance, let's get it back out of here. Here we go. All right, ready? Where you want to be? Here? Back over there? Right here? Okay. Zoom you out a little bit there. All right. Here's my supplies. All right. Ignition on. Fuel pumps on. And give her one more little level check. Make sure the oil's not going somewhere that I'm not seeing. Which, I mean, honestly, where else would it go? Give her a wipe. And one more. Let's see. Right on the line, right on it. I think we're going to call that a success. I'm going to get this guy back in here, being stuck over in the corner. I might fool with this tomorrow. Don't know if I'll film it or not. I'd like to start cooking dinner, but before I do, which if you go to Buc-ee's, if you have access to Buc-ee's, let me make sure I'm not zoomed in still. There we go. If you have access to a Buc-ee's and you're not aware that there's a frozen food section, it's usually one little thing, and in it they have bacon wrapped boudin stuffed pork loins, and they're frozen and they're about 20 bucks a piece. And you get those every time I go. We got a Buc-ee's in between here and Mobile. Every time I go by, I get 2 or 3 of them, throw them in the cooler, bring them home, keep them in the freezer, put them on the grill, thaw them out, put them on the grill, and then as they're cooking, when you roll it, baste it down with some Sweet Baby Ray's sweet and spicy barbecue sauce. Son, that is meat candy. So I'm doing that, doing one of those, and some fresh corn on the cob, maybe a little rice to go with it. Anyway, before I do that, I'm gonna get this smashed together and hung up. And hey, I hope this has been interesting, entertaining. The whole reason I made this video today is because one of you asked me to, basically, to go a little more in depth on this motor. And so here you go. If anybody wants to see anything else with this, or want me to try something with it, throw some comments in there, shoot me a like, subscribe if you want. I mean, I've got a handful of videos on YouTube. I'm not making any money off of this, but I mean, go for it. You know, at least help your algorithm a little bit. But anyway, thanks guys, and I'll see you soon.